Hey guys, so today you and I are going to talk about staff engineers, so let's get into it. So the question in question was, Frederick, why do staff or slash principal level software engineers go into management tracks as it seems that as soft skills seems to be more important than coding skills at that level? Well, I wouldn't say that they have to go in and learn like and become managers, because usually if you're a staff engineer or something like that, it depends on what you define as a manager. But we have what we call engineering managers. Usually staff engineers or principal engineers, the responsibilities of that role can range from basically that you're just another title on top of senior software developer, or it can mean that you're like an architect or like some higher role where you have to take responsibilities that span across multiple teams or multiple areas. It's a very fluffy term, and it can mean basically anything. But I wouldn't go and say that people make like the conscious decision to go into management with more soft skills focused work, as opposed to coding, just because you become a staff engineer, because as I said, it really depends on the company and sort of what responsibilities you have. The way that I can describe the role best is that you have reached a point now where you are what I call well, you're at the very least at a level where you can be called a true senior. And when you're at that level, you have reached a point where you don't just have like the necessary coding skills and so forth. You have a experience level where you can be given like you basically know the industry. You know how an IT company works. You know what matters. You know what matters to the stakeholders. You know what matters to the designers, to the engineers, to the customers. You know how to set everything up. You know how to like run like projects, and like you know quote unquote now all there is to know in order to deliver software in the fashion that the industry does things. There are no like you are as autonomous as a human being as a software developer can possibly be, and you can be trusted with most responsibilities, everything from running a team to as I said, it really much depends on what type of profile we're talking about here. But in an ideal case, you are a universal solution. As I like to say, you're an insurance policy. That's what I define. You hire seniors, or like depending on how you want to define senior now, or these sorts of people as an insurance policy, where there is nothing that a person of this level doesn't really or is not really able to do. But it can also, because the range is always there, guys, it can also be like just that because IT has a problem with promoting people, that you're actually just working as normal. It's just that you have this title because they gave you this title as an incentive to stay within the company. But the reason why people like this might, like staff engineers or so forth, might go into more management and soft skills oriented things has to do with that it's hard to grow your career beyond a certain point as a software engineer. And before you think too much about that, that doesn't mean that you don't have. It's going to take you years to get to this level usually, and it's not like it's a dead end job. It's just that sooner or later you're going to have to accept that no matter how good you get at the coding, the value of that code that the code that you are writing as an individual has capped. Like there is no, like you can't just continue increasing the value of that thing. It's similar to, if you run your own company, but your potential personal salary might be a lot higher. I mean, assuming now that you have like a gigantic successful company or something like that, than if you work for someone else, because sooner or later it's hard to motivate, like how valuable are you and so forth and so forth. And it's a similar sort of problem for staff engineers, or like people who are like become experienced as software developers. And another part to it is, of course, that they want to grow and evolve as people. Whereas you can imagine, if you work on stories for 10 years or something like that and do nothing but, well, sooner or later, as I've said before, you're going to get bored and you're going to want to try different things out. And some people want to go into different tech. They go like the specialist route. Some people want to be more involved in the planning or like more soft skills oriented things. So it's really down to like, what do you want to do as a software developer, as opposed to like this being forced upon you. The likelihood for you to transition into management, or like the need for you to do so, is there, because as I said, when you get to the staff engineer level, most of your value comes from your impact on the organization, and you can't really have effective impact on a lot of people without having a bigger presence in the community, if that makes sense. So for you, it's a choice that you fundamentally make usually. Either you stay within the more technical area, and there are roles of staff engineers where like you're an architect, or like you have responsibility towards like some type of project that is high stakes, etc., etc., but you stay more with the coding. But then there are of course staff engineers, or people who become like, an example would be engineering managers, who have very little coding involvement. Most of what they do is really about recruitment, managing people, etc., etc., taking different social initiatives within the organization. So I wouldn't say that all staff engineers or everybody goes towards the management area. There are plenty of people who still, just do the coding, but it's difficult to define exactly what a staff engineer is supposed to be doing in an organization, because it can mean so many things. It's just, you can almost think of it as an umbrella term for almost as the same sort of umbrella term that we would give when we say middle management. Like, it's just a throwaway term that can be anything, because there's so many potential roles a person can have when they've grown to the point where they're going to be involved in the administration and the management of the entire company. It's that fluffy, I would say, at least from my experience. So what I want you to take away from this is that I wouldn't say necessarily that staff level or principal level software engineers all go into management and like sort of learn soft skills, because before it's very unlikely that you're gonna get to this level without having some degree of like the basic soft skills. I mean, guys, it's a lie. It's a weird lie, or like weird notion. I think that soft skills is something that you go and learn. You learn some of it. You learn the lingo. You evolve your soft skills, but it's not like you take a crash course on communication and then now you're a principal engineer or like a staff engineer or something like that. You usually get to these sorts of levels when you've been in the industry for long enough and understood enough to be able to effectively have an impact on the entire workflow. And guys, not everybody becomes a principal engineer or staff engineer. It's something that it's usually something that either the company gives you because they have to give you something to keep you in the company, even though it might not be the case that you are a good fit for this. But most of the time it's about finding individuals who can take a greater responsibility and bridge that gap between management and the software engineers, and be that in that bridge level where we usually put people like, like site reliability engineers, or you're talking about architects, etc., etc. The people who basically plan out everything, or like are responsible in a greater capacity for making sure that things happen. And in some cases you do the coding, like you're in a specific project where you might lead the team and go do the coding with them, and in some situations you're just planning things, or providing feedback, or managing people, or dealing with different teams, or educating people, etc., etc. It's very, very diffuse or fluffy what you're going to be doing. So that's why I always recommend to people to like never forget that the trifecta is always, for technical expertise, is always going to be domain knowledge, soft skills, and technical skills. These three, those three things never go away. It doesn't matter which job you have. You can abandon the technical skills, but then you're basically an engineering manager, and you can abandon the people thing, or like the soft skills, or like all of this sort of stuff, and then you're basically just a senior software developer. Like there is no way for you to slice, in my opinion, to slice it in any other way. So a principal engineer, like a staff engineer, abandoning one for the other doesn't make sense, because usually their role is to be that middle, like that bridge, and it's difficult to be that bridge effectively without having some measure of all of those three areas of knowledge. Have a great day.